read some passages from The Courage to Heal. So I want to give a warning that this content is heavy. This whole book is on CSA and healing from it, and passages I'm reading in particular are related to believing that it happened, denying that it happened, and doubting that it happened. To heal from childhood sexual abuse, you must face the fact that you were abused. This is often difficult for survivors. When you've spent your life denying the reality of your abuse, when you don't want it to be true, or when your family repeatedly calls you crazy or a liar, it can be hard to stay clear in the knowledge that you were abused. Some survivors have no trouble believing it happened. Corroboration can make it easier to accept the truth. You may have a sister or a brother who remembers, a mother who said, "But honey, we had to stay with him." You may have physical scars from a rape that happened at age 4, a doctor's report, court testimony, an abuser who admitted, "Yes, I did it," a neighbor who remembers, another child that you told. Even survivors who have confirmation of their abuse sometimes struggle with believing that it happened. For many survivors, denial has been a way of life. You may have grown up in a family where many things were denied, not just abuse. You may have learned, by example, to numb your feelings, to dissociate from pain or confusing experiences, to deny any troubling realities. These long-standing patterns don't just evaporate even when there's clear proof of abuse. And for many survivors, such proof is just not available, nor is support or validation from family members. Yet, even if your memories are incomplete, even if your family insists that nothing ever happened, you still need to face your own experience. The role of denial. Survivors sometimes go to great lengths to deny their memories. One woman convinced herself that it was all a dream. Another dismissed her memories by saying, "Oh, that was just a past life." I'm jumping around. This type of denial might seem surprising, but in reality, it is a self-protective way to deal with traumatic pain. Denial gives you respite when you cannot bear to align yourself with that small wounded child for another minute. It allows you to go to work, to make breakfast for your kids. It is a survival skill that enables you to set a pace that you can handle. Often, in the beginning stages, belief in your memory comes and goes. One woman explained it this way. "It's like being in a fog and the clouds go away sometimes. I'd have a memory. I'd relive the experience. Then I'd know it was true, that it was real. I didn't want it to be true, but I'd know that it happened. Then, as soon as I'd say that, I'd start to deny it. But I love my father. He couldn't have done that." But there'd be these things inside that would say, "But what about the bladder infections that I had when I was 8? He could never look me in the eye when I was in the hospital." When doubts persist. For some survivors, disturbing doubts about their abuse persist for a long time. One survivor, Emily, that's my name, by the way, grew up in a family where her reality was so severely tampered with, it's no wonder she has trouble trusting perceptions. At night, before I went to sleep, my mother would tell me that what went on during the day when I was awake was really a dream, and that what happened in my sleep was what was real. She turned realities and dreams, awake and asleep, exactly opposite. This is an extreme example, but some distortion of the truth is commonplace in families where sexual abuse takes place. If you've grown up unsure of what to believe, if your perceptions haven't matched what you were told, you may find it particularly hard to trust your own reality when it comes to sexual abuse. However, consistent doubt can also be an indication that you're on the wrong track. If you're genuinely unsure about what happened to you, don't rush yourself or allow anyone else to rush you into giving it a label. Take your time. Explore your history, your feelings, your concerns. Trust yourself. Eventually, you will come to a fuller understanding of your experience. Look at your life. One practical way to validate your abuse and to learn more about what took place is to look at your life now. Your feelings, your responses, and your interactions hold clues to your past experiences. You may find that as you face and work through the trauma of abuse, your behavior changes in healthy ways. This is an anecdote from somebody. The hardest part was accepting and believing that it really happened. Being in the group really helped. I was able to see other people who had gone through sexual abuse, and my symptoms were so similar. I have all the classic symptoms: ideation, running away, a high pain tolerance, spacing out, not being able to succeed, denial, always being isolated. Another thing that helped me believe it was watching my own behavior change. Like, my paranoia was going away. I used to think that the mafia was out to get me and that someone was going to set fire to a place that I was in. When I remembered the abuse, I realized that those were threats that my father had made. He used to lock me in the cedar closet and grape me, and he would threaten to set fire to the chest. He said if I ever told anyone, the mafia would come and get me. As soon as I made those connections, my paranoia went away. The last portion of this that I want to read is believing that it mattered, which I want to read because I know this is something a lot of people struggle with, but it does go into details about somebody's CSA experience. There was always a creepy feeling in my house of my father being really inappropriate. He'd just be too affectionate, he'd be too close, he would kiss me for too long. It got worse when I was a teenager. It was like he had a more difficult time containing himself. My friends felt weird around him, and he was really hostile to my boyfriends. My father only touched me once, when I was 12 years old. I was asleep in bed. He came into my room and he laid down next to me. He put his hands down my pajamas and started playing with my... It woke me up. I turned away from him. I pretended I was just turning over in my sleep. He must have gotten frightened that I could wake up, and he left. I remembered watching his shadow outside of the door. He never did it again. Before he touched me, I felt very free in my body. I felt wonderful. I was coming into the height of puberty. I was outgoing and I was friendly. I had boyfriends. Everything was awakening. And my first intimate sexual experience was with my father. He was the first man to ever touch that part of her body. It was very upsetting and confusing to me. I loved my father. We had a strong relationship. After he touched me, I went into a deep depression. I shut off communicating with the outside world. It was like a veil just came down, and that was it. It took me until I was 22 to even realize that something was wrong. I had to find out what my real personality was underneath all of that. I never forgot what happened. It sort of went underground. I didn't think about it a lot, but it's had long-lasting effects. I've had a really difficult time getting close to lovers. I need a disproportionate amount of control in my relationships. I've been estranged from my father for the last 5 years, ever since I confronted him. Our relationship has basically fallen apart. I never compare what happened to me to what other people went through because I really felt the hell inside myself. I knew it was wreaking havoc in my life and in the lives of my lovers. You don't have to have it happen over and over to know that it was really terrible. It doesn't take much for a child to feel the devastation of a parent crossing those boundaries. If I was talking to someone and she said, "Oh, well, he just did it a little bit. It's not such a big deal," I'd ask, when you connect with another human being in a deep way, how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel scared? Is it like closing down? Or is it like being completely one with that person? Really check it out with yourself. In the deepest part of you, how are you connecting with people? Then reassess how you are affected. It counts if it keeps you from being close to another person. It counts if it's devastated your life. If you're missing a part of yourself, even if it only happened once, it counts.